apologize. Parents should apologize to their children. And if you never got an apology from your parent, I'm sorry. Um, Especially if you felt like you deserved one because maybe they were nasty sometimes, or maybe they were stressed at times. But hopefully when the time comes for you to have children, you can do it differently. But I had to apologize to my 8-year-old a couple of days ago because I was really just snappy. It didn't have anything to do with her. Nothing to do with her at all. It just was how work was going that day. It was how work was going. It was how some things that had nothing to do with her was going. And she just wanted some ice cream. She was being 8. She wanted some ice cream. And I was like, no, dang, stop asking me for some ice cream. She was an 8-year-old, wanting some ice cream. All 8-year-olds want ice cream. A lot of adults want ice cream, okay? And so I said, you know what? I apologize. And it was the next day after I had woke up and I was like, you know, I was not nice yesterday. I apologize for snapping on you. And it had nothing to do with you. I was thinking about some other stuff. And she was like, that's okay. You know, she was her sweet, forgiving self. And sometimes what happens is we may not, y'all heard the saying of you may not always remember what people say, but you remember how they made you feel. You may not always remember exactly the words that people have said to you, but you remember, do I really want to go over grandma's house? Grandma was always kind of mean. Grandma was always kind of judgmental. You may not know the exact words grandma said to you, but you know if grandma made you feel warm and fuzzy, or if grandma made you feel like, here we go, you know. So, regarding the mental toughness piece, if you are stressed regularly, you need to figure out what are things that are making me stressed? What are those stressors in my life? And pinpoint those things. Are they people? Are they your job? Is it a certain is it your school? What is it that's making me stressed? Maybe it's a certain person. And when you're around this person, your attitude becomes different. Because maybe they need to be snip, 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 cut out. Okay. And that's something that you need to think about. So how do I know if I'm stressed? Maybe you start to feel anxious. Maybe you start pacing. Maybe you start to feel like the butterflies inside. Then you start to feel really worried. Maybe you get angry. Maybe you get very fearful. Maybe you get scared. Maybe you become sad. One thing that I noticed, and I noticed this with some people, and since a lot of you guys are now working or serving or in school, here's what I noticed when I've been working with people, especially doing like counseling and stuff like that. There are some people who get really sad on Sunday nights when they have to think about going to work on Monday. And they're like, I hate my job. I can't stand going to that place. There are people who are like that. And when Friday comes, they are speeding out the parking lot on 2 wheels. Speeding out on 2 wheels. But Sunday night comes, and it is a sadness that will engulf some people because they cannot stand to go to that place. If that is not you, that is wonderful, because then maybe that says that you like your job, or you like the people that you work with, or that it is something that you find purposeful, you know. But if that is you, then you may want to reevaluate why it is that you feel like that. And what are some other options for you? Um, some people feel really irritated when they're stressed, and I already kind of explained that, and frustrated, you know. So, how you might behave if you're stressed, you might withdraw and isolate from people. Isolation can be okay in small amounts, in very small amounts. So, if you need a day or two and just say, you know what, I need to kind of decompress from people, I need to just be in my place, I need to Netflix and chill by myself, that's fine. But if your isolation starts to turn into a day, a week, weeks, that's a problem because that starts to be a sign of depression. And that's not healthy. Some people become tearful when they're stressed. Some people also become tearful when they're angry. And tears can be good. Crying can be good. It can be healthy. But it can also indicate that there are some other things going on if it's happening too frequently. Okay. If you're feeling like I am just crying uncontrollably and I am just sitting here, I'm just sitting here, or I'm just working with customers, or I am just walking along today and I'm just starting to cry, that could be a sign something else is going on. All right. Some people have trouble sleeping, or some people sleep too much. Again, a sign something is going on. Because when you're sleeping too much, then it's a sign you're avoiding. You are avoiding something. What are you avoiding and why? Um, and then other people start to become aggressive towards others. And when I say aggressive towards others, it's not just like verbally, it's like literally, physically. Um, Sometimes I tell people, especially when I'm counseling them, and they tend to be um, um, a little dramatic. Um, I tell them pause before the drama so that you don't have to apologize because of the drama. So you need to practice a pause, okay? Which means that you need to become responsive instead of reactive. You got to know the difference. All right. Responsive instead of reactive. Can anybody unmute themselves and tell me what they think the difference is? Anybody?
So, being responsive would kind of be like you're trying to talk things out. You're trying to figure out what exactly is wrong, trying to see like how you could possibly fix the situation. And reactive is just kind of jumping to conclusions and automatically making that like angry reaction right afterwards. So you're immediately snapping at people. You're not trying to figure out and like stop and be like, am I really mad at them or is something else going on? So
Yep. Yep. You pretty much hit the nail on the head. Responsive, you got to think it through. Reactive, you're typically impulsive, you're emotional, and you typically have regrets. So, Alicia, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Yeah. Is your reaction going to get the police called on you? That's what you got to think about. Do you want to go to jail? I had to tell one of my people that today. Well, I just had a bunch of books fall if y'all just heard a big bang. So, okay. So I had to tell somebody that today. I said, you know what? You could have went to jail. And sometimes when you are in that mode of it's just tunnel, I'm angry, I'm upset, they are going to feel my fury. You don't think about consequences. You don't think about anything else except the person or the thing that you are focused on, and you see red, right? You don't think about police. You don't think about a criminal record. You don't think about negative consequences. And some of you might be like, why are we talking about this? We're not in high school anymore. Like, we shouldn't have to have these conversations. We're grown. You're right. For some of you who are thinking that, you are absolutely right. But I feel like I also shouldn't have to have these conversations with people who are 30 and 35 and who come to see me, privately. But I do. Anger doesn't discriminate. Tempers don't discriminate. A lot of these things are learned behaviors. And if you grew up in environments that these things were learned, you have to work to unlearn them. Or maybe you didn't grow up in those environments, but maybe you just have a little bit of a anger streak and somebody just meets you on a bad day. You have to learn to control that. Okay. So let's say you're not an angry person, or you don't have a temper or anything like that. Before I get to self-care, I do want to talk about triggers real quick. Things that trigger stress or things that trigger people to feel like I have to have things together, or things that trigger people to anger. School, some of you are in school. Some people feel like, hey, I have to make a certain GPA. These assignments are kicking my tail. Family can be a heck of a thing. It doesn't matter if your family is the most, and I'm gonna put perfect in air quotes, perfect family. Sometimes those families are some of the most dysfunctional families. All right, let's be very clear. All right. Or if your family is one of the most dysfunctional families are a heck of a thing. Peers are triggers. Work can be a trigger. Having unrealistic expectations of yourself or other people having unrealistic expectations of you can be a trigger. Your mom might have unrealistic expectations of you. Okay. That can be a trigger. Social media can be the biggest trigger. Sometimes people are so consumed with it in terms of, well, I should be here by this age. Well, why haven't I been on this many trips compared to my peers? Why am I not engaged by now? Why don't I have a baby by now? Why haven't I graduated? Why don't I have this? Why haven't I gone here? Social media. Side note, let me tell you how much social media is a lie. I have people in my personal life who they will get on social media and they will have name brand head to toe, suited and booted, look good. They will be traveling. They will take pictures of where they travel. They will take pictures of their plates of food, eating in gourmet restaurants. And at the same time, have an eviction notice on their door. Have the repo man calling their phone, looking for their car. It doesn't make sense. But social media will be thinking, oh, well, they're living lavishly. No, they're not. They're not. They're not. They are about to be unsheltered. And so you have to have your priorities in check. It's okay to go through seasons of life in terms of some people have gone through seasons of being unsheltered. And when I say unsheltered, homeless. Some people have gone through those seasons legitimately, and there is nothing they could have done about that. But when you have the ability to pay your bills and you don't, that is called being irresponsible. Okay. So, priorities. So when you're triggered, your body may respond with physiological symptoms such as headaches, heart palpitations, breathing trouble. So sometimes people feel like they're having a heart attack. It could just be a panic attack. A lot of times people have gone to the ER countless times. I can't tell you the amount of people when I used to work in psychiatric hospitals or in the ER, people would come in thinking they're having a heart attack, and it's like, no, he's having a panic attack, sweating, aches and pains just in the body, shaking, or sometimes just even the urgent need to use the bathroom. That's like anxiety, I want to stress self-care. So here's where I really want you guys to unmute yourself, because when people think of self-care, I want to know what you guys think of when you're thinking of self-care. I want you just to name different things in terms of self-care. When you think of self-care, what do you think of? Bubble bath. Okay. See somebody in the chat.
I think it's mental.
You said mental?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you say mental, drill on that a little more. How so? How do you take care of yourself? Taking a break. Yep, that's one thing.
Yeah. I would say taking a break, finding like peace, meditating.
Yep.
Writing. I'll write. That's self-care.
Mm-hmm.
I would say those things.
Okay, thank you. What else?
Prioritizing yourself over other types of things. So if you know that you have like assignments that are starting to like stress you out, maybe contact like a professor for that class and be like, hey, like I need some time on this, like an extension. I just need a mental break, and usually they'll understand.
I am very glad you said that, because not only did you say taking time for yourself, but you hit on a point that a lot of people miss. You ask for what you need. A lot of people don't ask for what they need, whether it's from a professor, whether it's from loved ones, whether it's from a job. A lot of people are scared to ask for what they need. Have you ever had people come to you and ask for what they need? Hey, do you have $5? Hey, can you babysit? Hey, can I get a ride? People come to you and ask for what they need, don't they? Yeah. But I bet there are some of you who really struggle to ask for what you need. It is a struggle for you to open up your mouth and say, I need fill in the blank. Whether it's an extension, whether it is money, whether it is, hey, if you have any children, hey, can you just watch them for a couple of hours? Hey, I need whatever it is you need. It may be really a struggle for you to ask, because some of you may have asked, or some of you feel like, I can't depend on people. People have failed me. And that's a no-no for you. You feel like people can depend on you, but you can't depend on other people. And so part of self-care is asking for what you need and finding the people who you can ask. All supports aren't supports that you can ask. So when I say that, what I mean is, if you have a circle of people, you may have to identify what type of support that person is. So let's say you have your best friend, you have a mom, you have an uncle, and you have a neighbor. Let's just say 4 people, okay? Because I ain't gonna get in the long list. Let's say your best friend is an emotional support. So you can talk to your best friend about pretty much anything, okay? But your best friend really isn't the person to go to for money, because y'all are both in the same boat financially. And so you're probably not going to ask them for money, because that's just not the person to ask for money. But you can go to your mom for money, and you can ask your mom for money, but she's not the person to go to emotionally. So you really can't talk to her about the things that are on your heart, because she may make you feel worse before you feel better. You got your uncle. Your uncle, he's the person that maybe you can get some comedy relief from. Your uncle's cracking jokes. Your uncle, he might be able to give you a ride. So he's a physical support sometimes. So maybe he's also a mental support sometimes, because like I said, he's the comedy relief. He can give you a ride to work sometimes. So he's that kind of support. He tries emotionally sometimes, but he's kind of hit and miss. And maybe he's not so much of the monetary support, because, you know, he's just not. And then you got your neighbor. Your neighbor, she's the nice elderly lady. And if you ever needed maybe a cup of sugar, or if you ever needed somebody to watch your baby, she's that person to maybe do it. But y'all not close enough to where you could ask her for money. So sometimes you got to look at your circle and identify who is who, what type of support in your circle. Okay. Sometimes we make the mistake of asking certain people for certain things, and then we get upset and say, see, this is why I don't depend on nobody. This is why I don't reach out. This is why I don't open my mouth. But what we did is we made the mistake and identified certain people for the wrong things. Okay. You got to identify the right people for the right things. So for me, I'm never going to my auntie and asking her or trying to talk to her about things that are close to my heart, because in my mind, one, I'm going to be sitting there looking like this. Why now? Why did I say anything? When am I going to get out? What lie am I going to make up to get out this house? I know. Please, somebody call me. Please, somebody call me. Please. I don't even know why I said anything. That's what I'm going to be going through mentally while she is spewing her negativity, because it's spitting in my spirit. I don't need that. I'm gonna leave feeling worse than when I came. Absolutely not. But she'll sit there and she'll give you $20 for you leave. Hey, and that's just, she's an elderly. That's the type of person she is. So, self-care. There's different types of self-care. Sometimes when people think of self-care, they only think of like maybe, oh, go get a haircut, go get your nails done, go get a massage. But really, there's different sectors. There's physical, there's emotional, there's social, there's financial, there's spatial, spiritual, personal, and work self-care. So there's all these different sectors of self-care. And then we can list all of these things in those sectors. And so if we were to think of the physical sector, sleep, you got to get adequate sleep. If you're only sleeping like 2 hours a night, your brain is fried. Okay. Like you are not functioning well. I remember like when I lived in another city, I was working like 3 jobs once upon a time, like going to school, doing an internship, which I considered a job because I really was, and like doing like 1 or 2 jobs. I was getting like 2 hours a day. I was not here, y'all. Not here. I felt like I had to choose between, do I eat or do I sleep? Delirious. I swear I would hear stuff. I would hear stuff and see stuff. I didn't know how I was driving half the time. So you have to get adequate sleep. Okay. Showering is necessary. Showering and bathing is necessary. It is a part of adequate self-care. Decent nutrition. You can't eat McDonald's every day. You can't eat fast food every day. Excuse me. Drinking water. I know there are some grown people who say, well, I don't like water. You're too old to say you don't like water. Okay. You're too old. You need to try to trick yourself. I don't know what you need to do, guys, but I'm not saying, you should be drinking at least 8 cups water a day. But even if you start off with, okay, I don't like water, let me drink at least 2 cups. Set some goals for yourself. Limiting your alcohol consumption. And I say that because if you're one who likes to drink in excess regularly, that leads to alcoholism. That leads to addiction. And that can be problematic. Okay. You literally have to go inpatient to detox from alcohol. You cannot do that solo. Or I should say, if you do, that can be life-threatening. You need to be under the care of a doctor to detox from that. Physical, again, exercise, yoga, things like that. Maintaining, here's something else people don't think about, maintaining your health appointments, dentist, your physicals, things like that. Go to the doctor. You need to maintain those things. It is important. You have to care for yourself, because when you care for you, then you can take care of other people. Then you can go to your job. Then you can operate in your purpose. You're here on purpose. You are created for a purpose, even if you don't know what it is yet, even if you're trying to discover it, even if you're trying to figure out, okay, what am I fully supposed to do? You're all here for a purpose, on purpose, with a purpose. I fully believe that. All right. And so because of that, you have to keep yourself in check, in order. All right. And if you're not your best self, you can't operate in your purpose, or at least not fully. Emotionally, self-care, stress management, using healthy coping skills. Can you guys tell me what some of your coping skills are currently? You can type them in the chat, or you can come off mute. Healthy coping skills. I think somebody, right now you're labeled iPhone, but you had said writing. Healthy coping skills.
For me, I would say like reading, like just doing something that I want to do instead of something I need to do. Because sometimes I get so obsessed with like doing things for like either it's an assignment or this activity for a club or this something or that, or studying for this. So like I think just like doing something I want to do like in that moment, instead of knowing that I need to do something, but taking my mind off of that and be like, okay, let me do something I want to do for a second and then go back to what I need to do, really helps me just like feel better in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so something you want to do, reading. I saw journaling, getting some time outside. I hope I don't say your name wrong. Tamaya? Did you have your hand up? Maybe not. Took your hand down? Okay.
Sorry, I was agreeing. I was clapping.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. Anybody else? And the reason I ask about your coping skills, your healthy coping skills, is because maybe you do something that other people are like, hey, I didn't think of that. Maybe I should try that. Maybe that's something that I can incorporate. So I think everybody can learn from each other. And, I think that's important. So does any of the TeenWorks people want to talk about their healthy coping skills? The facilitators? They look like, girl, this is your session.
Well, now you got me doubting if what I do is a healthy coping. I would agree though with the getting time outside. I really like being outside or being in nature. I just feel like it's calming. So usually it's just stepping away from the task at hand, and I think that's also hard to I think especially for the group that we're working with, it's hard to recognize that or be okay with doing that because you are feeling the pressure of meeting all of these deadlines and those requirements. So even though you know that you is going to help you to move away from what you're working on in that moment for 5 or 10 minutes, and that will help you eventually do better in all of the things, but that pressure of feeling like that's a bad thing to do because you have all of this on your plate. I know that that's a struggle, and it is something that I still work through now. But I think that, I mean, for me, that would be the biggest thing is recognizing that like I need to step away from this instead of like trying to like work through it and thinking that that's gonna be like how I'm gonna get over the stress. It's just like to get it done. It's just to disengage and kind of start fresh. But that's, I guess, what I have for right now.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important to sometimes just laugh. I mean, sometimes people not think of that as a coping skill, but sometimes that's why we're on social media, right? The TikToks, the Instagrams, scrolling the reels and things like that is because it's a part of sharing life with people who we don't know, and people get the laughs out of it. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's not supposed to be funny for some people, but overall, it's like, yeah, that was funny, or watching a good movie to laugh about. And it's like, it's okay to laugh. Sometimes when we have deadlines due and work was stressful, it's like, let me just go find something that is mindless and funny and stupid, and let me just laugh about that. Okay. Spending time with people that you care about, that's emotional self-care. Talking on the phone, texting, emotional self-care. Some things that we do, I don't think consider as this is self-care. But it is acknowledging your feelings. That is self-care. Using positive self-talk. That is self-care. And so you have to be mindful to do that. Social self-care is setting boundaries. And I think that's something that some people are trying to get. I think that's a fad now. And I hope it's something that sticks around. But you have to set boundaries. You have to set boundaries in your life, because when you don't, that is when you get burnout. That is when people over you. That is when you are becoming sacrificial and you are the most important person. Because if you're not the most important person, then everything else falls apart. Your purpose, your kids, your school, your work, like everything else falls apart. And when I say your work, yes, the company may go on, but I'm just saying your position, you may not hold that position anymore if you can't uphold yourself. So you have to set boundaries. So for some people, they may even say, well, how can I have boundaries in my job? Let me give an example. So my very first job, I worked at Wendy's. I probably worked there for 4 years, from like 16 to 20. Okay. I told them, listen, I'm not working on a Sunday. Not doing it. Can't do it. Can't stop. Can't do it. Okay. They would still schedule me on Sundays. I said, listen, Pete, my man, I'm not coming in on a Sunday. I go to church on Sundays. Okay. And he said, well, I need you to come in on Sundays. And I was like, Pete. So the way I am, I have a comical approach a lot of times. I was like, Pete, bro, I'm not coming in. Like, every once in a blue moon, I'll compromise and I'll come in after church, meaning you can schedule me at 4:00. Once in a blue moon, I'll give you 1, maybe 2 Sundays a month. But no, I'm not coming in to open this store, because we were opening was at like 6:30 to do all the prep. And so he would try to push and push. I said, Pete, you can have this job before I compromise on my boundary. And so what happened? I would come in at 4:00. once or twice a month on a Sunday, because I was that firm on my boundary of I will walk out of here with no job before I compromise on the boundary. And so, we were able to compromise on that because I didn't want to still be a team player, like in terms of I originally didn't want no Sundays, but I said I'll come in once or twice a month in afternoons. So at the end of the day, you still have to set your boundaries and be clear about your boundaries. Okay. Sometimes people may think you're joking about boundaries and be like, you ain't for real, that you weak, you playing, and they'll play with your boundaries. And so for some, you may feel like you are not good at setting them. And this is where therapy comes in. It's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to go to therapy. And it's okay to work with your therapist on how to get stronger in using your voice. Because I tell people all the time, your voice is valid and your voice is needed and your voice needs to be heard. And so if you are around people who respect your voice, then maybe you don't need to be around those people anymore and they need to be cut from your life. Okay. Another part of social self-care is engaging with a healthy support system. So I was just talking about that. Monitoring social media consumption. So even though we can use social media for entertainment, it's okay to take social media breaks too. It's okay to say, you know what? Have y'all ever scrolled social media and been like, okay, did 2 hours just pass? Was I really on here for this long? It can be so consuming sometimes. So sometimes you might just have to say, I am not getting on Facebook today. I'm not getting on TikTok today. I'm not getting on Instagram today. It's okay to take breaks. Okay. Sometimes you have to take a step back from people, especially people who may not really add much to you. Sometimes it's okay to evaluate your circle and say, what do they really add to me? Okay. Spiritual self-care, everybody may have different religions. People have different religions, but prayer, meditation, go to services, spend time alone, spend time in nature, keep a gratitude list. Those are all part of spiritual self-care practices. Okay. Personal self-care, do a hobby, take a nap. It's okay to take a nap. It's okay. Listen to music, read, listen to an audiobook, identify your goals, play. Yeah, you're grown now, but it's okay to still play. Okay. Watch a movie, turn off your phone. When was the last time we're so glued to our phones? When was the last time you just turned it off and just said, nah, I can turn it off for about 2 hours? Sometimes we're we have FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh my gosh. What if I miss a call? What if something happens? It's okay. You can turn it off. Treat yourself to something new. That's personal self-care. Financial self-care. Save for something just as a good practice. Have a savings account. Even if you can only put $5 a week or every paycheck in there, that's still a good practice to have. Okay. Pay off debt. Free yourself from others' financial obligations. Let me talk about this one real quick. There are some people who really feel like your money is their money. They really feel like your money is their money. So let's say you're in school right now. Okay. Or let's say, okay, I'm gonna just stick with the school example. Sometimes people get lump sums of money in school. And what happens is friends or family, I'm gonna just stick with family. No, you get lump sums of money. Oh, Well, can you buy me? Can you get me? Well, you know, I need. Mm-mm. No, I don't know nothing. Mm-mm. Matter of fact, don't even say nothing. Don't say not nothing, not a spit, spatter, spaghetti. Don't even start making grand purchases in front of them. Where you get all this money? How you spending all this money? Because people gonna be in your pockets. Mm-hmm. And they gonna help you spend your money for them, for their benefit. And for some of you, you have such a tender heart and compassion. And for some of you, you feel guilty. And you're going to feel like, oh, well, let me buy my mama this. Let me buy my daddy this. Let me buy my sister this. Let me buy my brother this. You're going to have to pay that money back. Okay. So use some financial wisdom. Okay. I'm just trying to help you as somebody who has been to school a few times and who has college loans that, oh my goodness, I wish somebody would have educated me. Right? Educate yourself about investments that you might like to make in the future. Get around people who know about money. And I'm not talking about people who just talk about money, who sound smart. That is the person on the corner that just be talking out the side of their neck and don't really know nothing about money. No, I'm talking about people who have invested. I'm talking about people who have wisdom and who can really teach you something. That is what I'm talking about. Okay. Create multiple streams of income. I'm sure you guys have heard that. And then lastly, space, space and work. But a lot of times people don't think about self-care regarding their space. They say when your space is cluttered, your mind can become cluttered. So declutter and organize your space, whether it is your desk, whether it is your bedroom, whether it is your apartment. Make your bed. Have y'all ever just had fresh sheets and made your bed and you're like, I sleep so much better? Yes, make your bed. You have better sleep when your bed is made. Create clean spaces in your home. Create healthy environments in your home. Stability and safety is key as well. You know, that is a part of good self-care. And lastly, work smarter, not harder. Okay. So even what I mean by that is when you're creating schedules, try to get as much in one block as you can versus, okay, I'm here at 10 o'clock. Then I got a big chunk of a break where I'm doing nothing. Then I'm here at 2 o'clock. And then and you feel like you're just all over the place. It's like, if you have a big chunk of a break, are you using that chunk to study? Are you using that chunk to go to work? What are you using that chunk for? You know, work smarter, not harder. Use effective time management. And if you don't know how to do that, find somebody who does. Because some people are visionaries and they're the big picture people. And then some people are the detail oriented people. And so sometimes with the big picture people, they really struggle with the details. And when you really struggle with the details, it's a struggle with organization. And there's no fault or no shame in that. It's just like, okay, I need to get with somebody who's good with details, who can help me map out some things. And that's okay. Take a lunch. Take lunch breaks. Make sure you're scheduling your meals in. And I know that might sound like, what? But do you know how many people are just working tirelessly, whether, again, in school, whether they cut hair, do hair, and they just keep going. And it's like, but what are you feeding yourself? Not only what are you feeding yourself physically, what are y'all feeding your brain? What is going in your ears? What are you feeding yourself? You know? So I'm at about an hour. I've rambled, so I'll be done. I'll let y'all take it back over, or if there's any questions, comments.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions on, we heard kind of a segment on self-care, we heard a little bit on triggers. Does anybody have any questions regarding any of those kind of more general topics? Or like she said, if you have some ways that you cope with stress, others may not have thought about that, or it could be just helpful to share out a little bit about what those are, and others may benefit from that as well. So we'll take a minute or so and see if anybody has anything to share out or to ask Ciera, and then we'll go from there.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I just want to apologize. My Wi-Fi has been acting up, so sometimes you were cutting in and out, but I was trying to listen the best I could. But one of my de-stressors or coping skills is taking a nap, as like you said. But it's great for me, but sometimes I feel as if maybe people look at me and be like, oh, she just, sleeping all that stress away. That's not good. Or, she's lazy, or, things like that. How do you keep that negativity that you think that people are saying, or what people think, but also trying to, cope with what you think is best for you?
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting you asked that, because honestly, I have a client who, she's a college student, and we were just talking about this last week. One, you can't control what other people say, think, or do, right? So we really don't know what other people are saying, thinking, or doing unless they've actually said it to us. And it can be a perceived thought that you're having, like, okay, well, they're thinking I'm lazy. They're thinking I'm being unproductive. And if your way to cope is by sleeping, I would just say, as long as you're also balancing it with productivity, then that is okay. Because the thing is, some of us do need a little bit more sleep. Some of us do. But then also, if you're looking at your week, or if you're looking at your day and looking at, okay, what am I getting done today? What have I gotten done today? And if your answer is, I didn't really get very much done. Okay. How can I ramp up my productivity? What are some goals that I can set? Then maybe just start setting goals for yourself, even if it's not huge, monumental goals. Then we can't compare ourselves to others, because maybe for you it is, is she still on? Maybe for you, yeah, she's right there. Sorry, you had jumped on my screen. Maybe for you, getting 4 hours worth of work done is super productive. And maybe for Alicia, getting 8 hours worth of work done is really productive. You're two different people. And that's part of the issue with society now, or even with social media, is that we compare and compare and compare. And so let's say Alicia was your roommate or something like that. Again, y'all might not even know each other. I don't know. But in general, Alicia might not be thinking anything about you taking a nap. And she just might be like, I'm just getting my 8 hours worth of work done, because Alicia has that energy. You have two different body types. You have two different types of energy. You have two different mental health statuses. And so maybe for your mental health status, you require more sleep. That's just it. Okay. And so you can't look at things like, okay, well, they're thinking this about me, because then what you're feeding into is called thinking errors. And that's a whole therapy term. So
Awesome.